Welcome back to the Rise Above podcast. Today we're so excited to be joined by our first college softball player, Karlie Davison. First off, Karlie, thanks so much for being on with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you because, as we were talking about beforehand, for me, ever since I lost my sight, softball is one of the most entertaining sports to watch because like something's always happening and I feel like the energy is always high.
Right. It's a fast-paced game. Like people run to first base in under 3 seconds. You got to move real fast. So it's a really fun sport to play and watch.
Yeah, and I know you started your career at Utah and now you're at Arkansas. How did that love for softball begin?
Yeah, I've been playing softball since I can remember, in the house playing with a wiffle ball. My dad played in the MLB for a little bit, so it was just always part of our family. Never really played anything else, but I didn't complain. I loved it so much. So I grew up playing t-ball, baseball, and then got thrown into rec ball, softball, and then started travel ball at a really young age. And I loved it. Of course, there's times where I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, it's so hard, but my love for the game really has never wavered, and I'm really grateful for that because that's not always the case for people who spend their whole lives playing a sport.
Yeah, and I'm sure growing up playing travel ball, you played softball all the time. Mm-hmm. What was that like? I'm sure going from tournament to tournament, city to city.
Yeah, it was really fun. I played for the same travel ball team from the time I was 10 years old until I graduated high school, so it was really fun to grow up around the same group of girls, play for the same organization, learned a lot of really special lessons there, just about loyalty, hard work, just looking yourself in the mirror every day and deciding you want to do something and you go out and do it. But it was really fun. I got to travel all around the country with my friends, like playing the game that I love. So I look back and I miss it sometimes. Just there's a simplicity to it. There's no, NIL. There's no craziness. You just like playing on some dirt field in the middle of Kansas or something random. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'm really grateful that my parents were able to support me in that and, let me travel by myself sometimes and just let me grow up in a way that I don't think I would have had I not been playing travel softball. So it was really special, and I'm really grateful for that experience.
Yeah, I think that's awesome too that you said you grew up playing around the same group of girls, which I feel like I don't see that much where people are playing on the same like travel ball team. Either everyone always wants to go to the new grades thing, but I think that's awesome. Right. I'm sure there's a lot of great memories you had too.
Right. Yeah, it was a really good time, and I still, I'm playing against these girls in the SEC now, so it'll be fun to be enemies on the field, but just sisters for life. So
that is awesome. And as you mentioned, you'll be playing against them in the SEC. Was there a time where it was when you were in middle school or high school that you just knew you wanted to play college softball?
Yeah, I can't really remember a moment where I knew I wanted to play, but I think it was just always the goal to play in college softball. But if you would have told me that I'd be in the SEC right now, I would have told you, you're crazy. So just, wow. Just the grace of God, honestly, that I'm here, and definitely not my own plans, but I'm grateful for that. But I always knew I wanted to play college softball. It's so much fun.
That is awesome. And especially it's crazy you're in the SEC because I'm sure where are you from in California again?
I'm from like the Los Angeles area.
Okay, Los Angeles. Yeah. So that's quite a ways out.
It's quite a ways. Yeah, I grew up with like UCLA, Oregon, Stanford, those kind of being the West Coast schools kind of being the goal because that's what I grew up around. But the SEC is a different ballgame. It's really crazy out here. So I'm ready for it.
Yeah, especially now that schools like Oklahoma are in, like literally all the best teams are in the SEC.
It's crazy. Like, there's just nothing like it, and we don't even get to play every team in the SEC because of how many there are. But it'll be a fun grind to really be able to test yourself against the best competitors. So, yeah, it's crazy.
And so something I've wondered about is how did the recruiting process look like, or what did it look like for you? Mm-hmm. As I looked you up, I saw you were a pretty big recruit as a shortstop. So how did that kind of look for you?
Yeah, it was definitely unique. I came up after the rule change where you couldn't talk to schools until September 1st of your junior year, which I'm very grateful for. There were girls in my class that had been recruited like in 8th grade, which is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, like how can you decide where you want to go to school in 8th grade? I have no idea. Like I barely knew what I wanted in my junior year. But I had my heart set on honestly a really like academically focused college experience, which is really ironic now. I mean, Arkansas is great, but that's just not
that's
really.
funny.
Yeah. And so that was always my plan. I went to a really academic high school, K through 12 school, so that's kind of the environment I grew up around and what I thought I wanted. But the Lord had other plans. I wasn't really like heavily recruited. My junior year was during COVID, and so everything with scholarships was just up in the air. There was a lot of unknown with colleges about how much money they had to give away to people. So I was on the later end. I didn't end up committing to Utah until the summer going into my senior year. But I'm really grateful that it did happen that way, because I never in a million years would have thought I'd go to Utah, and I honestly laughed at the thought of it, which probably was some pride in my heart. I was like, I'm not going to Utah. I don't even know anything about it. But Coach Gasso, now my hitting coach here at the U of A, just recruited me and my teammates. He came to every single travel ball game we played in the summer, and he just made it so clear that he wanted to be our coach. And yeah, he changed my life. That ended up being my only option to go to the University of Utah, and I also think that was the grace of God, because I at that point didn't really have my priorities straight. And so the Lord said, you have one option, and this is where I want you to go. And so I ended up going to Utah, and it was the greatest thing to play for Coach Gasso. We called him Coach DJ back then, but now he's Coach Gasso at the University of Arkansas. And so it's just a crazy full circle moment that I get to play for him now. But yeah, definitely a different kind of recruiting process. It was pretty stressful. I doubted myself at a lot of points. At that point, I wasn't really walking with the Lord, and so I fell into a lot of comparison and just self-worth struggles, and just really placing my hope in where I would go to school, and the whole like getting attention once I committed. That's something I really desired, is like for everyone to know that I was good enough to play in college. But yeah, I'm really grateful for the way it worked out.
Yeah, that is crazy how it worked out, because I didn't even realize that Coach Gasso was the one that recruited you at Utah. Now he's at Arkansas too. And so as you said, you ended up committing to Utah. What was it like whenever you first got there, and in those first first 2 years there?
It was great. I remember thinking before I committed there that I knew there were a few believers on the team. And I remember thinking, wow, that's really cool. That's not something that I was really committed to yet. But it was just so intentional, I believe, by the Lord to just place me there around a group of believers, because my senior year of high school is when I really started, is when I got saved and started walking with the Lord. And then I got to Utah, and there was just like such great community. And on the softball side of it, it was challenging, and it was also really rewarding, because I knew that I had worked hard to get to that point. And there was just people around me that pushed me, and I would be lying if I said that it wasn't hard to be in the college softball environment and just feeling the weight of people's expectations. But it was really fun, and I was ready. I was like ready to be a college athlete, be more independent, and I think I grew a lot in that. But my freshman year, we made it to the World Series. It was epic. We were totally the underdog team. We got picked in preseason to finish 8th in the Pac-12.
In the Pac-12, wow.
And there's 9 teams in softball, so second to last. And we ended up hosting a regional and then hosting a super regional, because our matchup got upset. and then we
Yeah,
made it to the
that's
World
perfect when that
Series.
works out.
Right. It was just total like Cinderella story. We made it to the World Series, which is awesome. But yeah.
Yeah, and
it
I
was
saw
great.
you had some you had a home run or two in the Pac-12 tournament too that year.
Yeah, it was fun. I had some success towards the end of my freshman year, which was timely and fun. So.
Yeah, and I'm sure that freshman year, like those first couple of bats, it was just nice to get them almost over with.
Right.
So I'm sure that was really like stressful. I can only imagine. You're like, oh shoot, now I'm at the college level.
Right. Yeah, the minute you start to doubt yourself, you might as well just go sit back in the dugout. That's something I learned because hitting at the college level is so difficult. But yeah, it was definitely I definitely had some fear and some nerves I had to shake off. But then I kind of found my groove.
Yeah, because in softball, like it seems like the pitchers are right on you, and then you got all different kinds of speeds too. And and then I don't know how you know this a lot better than me, but how it works. Like there's like running starts and like you hitting regularly. I think the slap hitting's more so for like just like speed people, I guess.
Yeah, they're like left-handed, fast people, so they can like kind of run through the box.
Yeah,
And
that
when
is
they make
crazy how it
contact,
works.
yeah, they just try to hit it soft and then run to first. But yeah.
And then I like how you talked about how at Utah there was some community that helped your faith. What would that look like?
Yeah. I knew that once I got to college, I really wanted to dive into my faith because I was kind of walking alone my senior year of high school, just trying to figure everything out. But I knew how many resources there were just at any school, especially like a big public university. And so I dove in. Like my first week, I joined InterVarsity, which was like a Christian ministry on campus. Got super involved with FCA. Got plugged into a church. You know, there was a Bible study on the team. So I was just in this new world of things where I'm like, okay, what do I want to do in college? Who do I want to be? What do I want to prioritize? And I'm really grateful for the resources that I had right at my fingertips. Because there's a lot of choices in college. It can be kind of overwhelming for a freshman. But I'm grateful that I had all of those resources available to me, and just the community and the other believers on the team, and not to mention Coach Gasso was a good resource for me just to push me in that way. But yeah, I'm really grateful for just the friends that I made my first year at Utah, because yeah, it's hard to walk alone. It's really, you're not meant to. So I'm grateful the lessons I learned about community.
Yeah, and that was so cool too. You had a coach that was following the Lord too, because that's one of the biggest things that helped me in my own life too. Because like you're around a coach almost more than you're around anyone else. Just spending time with and going through hard and really good times with. So I think that's something that's really awesome. And
Yes.
and also it's kind of talking more about softball. But what was it like playing in the World Series as a freshman?
It was really surreal. It was one of those moments where I'm like, pinch me. Like, I can't believe this is happening right now. Not that I ever doubted what we were capable of as a team, but just like you grow up watching this on TV, you know, signing the girls' autographs on the ball on the walk up to the dugout, just really cool stuff. Like looking around, playing Oklahoma State like, at night in the stadium with the lights, just really, really cool. Yeah, everyone dreams about it. Everyone dreams about winning the World Series too, which we didn't do, but it was cool to step back and just appreciate that blessing.
Yeah, it's cool too because like whenever that's on, like that's like the only thing on ESPN for a solid week.
Right.
And like that's like everyone around the country's tuned into it.
Right.
And like I said with softball, because like it's an easy sport to follow because of how fast it goes and how entertaining it is.
Yeah, I think there was some like record that was set for like viewership this past year, I believe. Like people watch college softball, which is really fun.
Yeah. Now we just need someone to dethrone Oklahoma.
Right. Yeah, this is our year.
Yeah. But what were some of the things that that drew you to Arkansas when you decided to enter the portal?
Yeah, that decision was really tough. Not to come to Arkansas, but to enter the portal.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was definitely a leap of faith, and I had prayed about it and talked to my parents quite a bit. But I thought to myself, there's no way that I'm like good enough to play in the SEC. That was kind of this thought that was going through my head of like, I don't know how this is possible, just like doubting. And my mom actually had just like this feeling. She was like, you're going to play for Coach Gasso again. I'm like, Mom, you're crazy. There's no way. And sure enough, 5 minutes after I'd entered my name into the portal, I get a call from Coach Gasso. And it was just the craziest thing ever. So a few weeks went by. I had to schedule my visits. I had a busy summer with just other things going on. But once I came on campus, I just absolutely had so much peace, which is something that I had prayed about. Like, just Lord, make this so clear. I don't want this to be a decision made out of selfish ambition, but just want to honor you in this. And so I had no doubt in my mind that Arkansas was the place, and just the opportunity to play for Coach Gasso again was something that I knew I just needed to do. And so I committed here on my visit, and that was that. The rest is history, and I'm so grateful to be a Hog.
You know, and what's it been like? I know games haven't started, but what's it been like in your time at Arkansas ever since? I'm sure you guys have done a lot of scrimmaging and just getting to know the campus and your teammates.
Yeah, it's been so fun. I absolutely love campus, Fayetteville, everything. It's a dream, really. And practices and the scrimmages have been really fun. We had a good fall. It's just a very competitive environment, which I love. Just everyone here is just like pushing me to be better, and there's a level of expectation that we all have to be great. And so it's just a really fun environment to be around people that want to be the best. And then school has been great, and I mean, it's a little tough being a transfer with all the credits and everything.
Oh, yeah. I've heard a lot of people that have had trouble getting credits over and everything.
It's okay. I'm here to play softball. That will all work out. But, yeah, it's been really great. Got plugged into a great church. And so, yeah, it's honestly been so great.
And then, as we talked about a little bit beforehand, obviously, in softball, just like baseball, it's literally a game of failure. What are some of the biggest ways your faith has helped you throughout softball?
Yeah, so it's funny. My freshman year, I went through a stretch of time, probably early to mid way through the season, where I was just so consumed by fear and had just so much failure. Like you said, it's a game of failure.
Yeah.
And the minute that you
such a mind game.
Yeah, it's so mental, and I think that's something that I really struggled with my freshman year. Was just the failure piece, especially in hitting. And so I think when I look back at that moment, I realize how much I put my hope in my own strength, and I was going through that really hard time, but I honestly did not really go to the Lord with those things. And I look back and I say, I never want that to happen again, where I'm going through a hard time and I just try to muster up the strength, white knuckle grip it. And so I guess the lesson that I've learned is that it really doesn't matter what I'm doing for God, but He just wants me to just rely on Him in those hard times and rely on good community, and just to really humble myself and realize that I can't do it by myself. I think that hard season really exposed some pride in my heart of no, this is my success, this is my season, I want to do it for my own glory. And yeah, not to say that's why I didn't have success necessarily, but I think I was humbled in a big way. And one day I called my mom, and she was like, have you been praying about this? And honestly, that just was a dagger to the heart, because the answer was no. And I think, so I've just learned the importance of prayer and just bringing my whole self to the Lord, whether that be failure, success, whatever that may be in sport, but also how I could use those lessons that I've learned to encourage other people.
I think that's a great reminder. I know for myself and for all of us, reminds me so much when you talk about humbling yourself, because I know I need to do that myself.
Yeah.
1 Peter 5, verse 6 says, humble yourself under God's mighty hand, and he will lift you up in due time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so awesome, because I even think about you. Coach Gasser recruited you to Utah. Then literally when you enter the portal, he's one of the first people, I'm guessing one of the first people to reach out to you. It's just crazy how, like, I know for myself, like, I tell people a lot of times, like, I might find myself lost walking around campus Arkansas, and the thing that helps me isn't just continuing to walk or think I can control where I'm going, but it's relying on the Lord and relying on the people that he's placed in my life. I think it's something that's so important for all of us. And what are some ways that people, whether it's Coach Gass or your coaches or teammates or anyone, has helped you in your walk with God?
Yeah, I could talk about that forever. I think I really have learned the importance of community. Coach Gasso, my freshman year, really harped on that idea of softball's not who I am, but it's what I do.
That is a great statement.
It's a great line.
Awesome.
It's a great line. And I think it's one of those things that we all know. We all know that to be true, but it's a matter of how do I live as if that's true. And so it's just like a daily taking up my cross and just denying myself and my desire to have a lot of success. But really, softball is a gift in a way to give God glory with the talents he's given me, not just in the post-game conference, but just in my actions, in the way that I treat people, in the small things. So I think that's one thing I've really learned from him, and he's helped me grow in, because it's one of those things. It's like, okay, yeah, I know my identity isn't in softball. I get that. I'm a child of God first. Like that's something that I know to be true. But it's like, what does that look like to live it out? And then I'd say this year, specifically coming to Arkansas, is a time where I've really just learned the importance of vulnerability and just the local church and how they've stretched me. I think before coming here, I'd never been like formally discipled or mentored, and so that was something that I had a desire for coming to Arkansas. And so I have a mentor through FCA, and she has really just stretched me and helped me be a good leader, which is something I'm passionate about. So there's been so many people in my walk with the Lord that have helped me tremendously, and I'm so grateful because, like I said, it's really impossible to do this by myself, especially, like not necessarily growing up in the church, not knowing what this is supposed to look like, but the Lord's really provided some great people in my life.
And I love what you said about how it's important not just like in the post-game press conference to give God glory, which obviously is important,
Right.
but like you can still do that as you're playing, even through, as talked about, the highs and lows.
Right.
And it reminded me so much of in James 1:2-4, where it talks about how we can consider it pure joy, even through trials, because the testing of our faith produces perseverance.
Absolutely.
And I think that's so awesome, and I think something I've even saw from a softball team before, where they talked about how they play, and the focus is like pointing their eyes up, focusing on Jesus, others than themselves. And I think that's something that's so cool about what you said, because like and great reminder for all of us that we don't have to give God glory whenever things are great, but we can even when we're going throughout a game and things are good or bad, we can say, God, no matter what, I'm going to give you glory. And I think that's so cool about what you said.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's just it's a testament to the people around me. Like if I just had the worst game of my life, but I still can have joy that doesn't come from my circumstances, then they're probably going to be attracted to that and start to ask questions. So that verse is really great, and it's a great reminder that we are all going to have trials, so we might as well see them as just good opportunity to practice our perseverance and be tested, and really like test what is most important to us when those things go wrong, like who is sitting on the throne of our hearts. So yeah, that's really good.
That's awesome. And going into this next year, you'll be a junior technically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So going into your junior year, what are some of your goals?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I know I ask a lot of people this field, like I don't.
Well, I think obviously I have some like softball related goals,
Mm-hmm.
but I think one thing that I want to do really well is just to be a good leader and to just pay attention to what other people need. Again, like humble myself and just be a leader and encouraging other people, especially. We have quite a few freshmen on our team, and I just know that I have learned a lot of things, especially my freshman year, dealing with so much failure and success. And so I think, I just want to use that to encourage other people. Another thing is just to be really bold in my faith this season. Again, encouraging my teammates, but also not shying away from the gospel and sharing that with people. The post-game prayer, the pre-game prayer, just being really bold. I'm excited.
That's awesome. I think that's one of the awesome thing about sports is the platform you have.
Mm-hmm.
But being bold about that faith is like
Mm-hmm.
you literally never know who could be watching that.
Mm-hmm.
At just some random time that it could impact them, and then by impacting them, they could impact someone else too.
Right.
And so I think that's something that it's so cool about athletics. Is like the stage you're put on when you use it to be bold for Christ. It literally can impact someone forever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we never know how the Lord will use that and that domino effect like you're talking about. So I'm excited. And I know there's just so many, Bogle is an awesome place, I've heard, to play. And there's just so many little girls watching. And so that's really my hope, is just to be a good example and to glorify God through softball, which is fun. Like, I get to play softball, and it's really fun.
That's so cool. And then on the softball side, is there any personal or team goals you have?
Yeah, I think, being in transfer, I can't necessarily speak to last season, but I think they were not happy with the way the season ended, and so there's kind of like this sour taste in everyone's mouth, and they're just hungry to go win and to make it past a regional and ultimately go to the World Series and win some games, So I think obviously that's a goal of ours, is to win. But yeah, we're really talented, and I'm excited about that. But yeah, softball wise, the SEC is tough. So I'm just my goal is really to do failure well and to not ride the highs and the lows, to be consistent, to be a good teammate.
Yeah, I think that's something that we can all apply, is do failure well.
Yeah.
Because it's not a matter of if something bad will happen, but when. I think one of the most important things for sports in life is how will we handle it.
Right.
And that's something that's so key. I love how you talked about too, about how helping those freshmen, because you've been through that freshman year when it's hard. And it reminds me so much of stuff my mom said in time I was struggling in my life. She said, you might not understand why you're going through this, but it might just be so that you can help someone else going through something like that at some point.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's so cool. And it's going to be so cool seeing you this year in a leadership position as an upperclassman, being able to help those younger teammates, because you should never know what way the ball will bounce or how a certain call will go. But what you can control is, like you talked about, the type of leader and just trusting in Christ.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's the really cool part about all of this, is that, if we stay teachable, there's so much that God could teach us through those hard times, and then later on get to encourage someone else. So that's the goal. In the middle of that struggle or the failure, it's really tough to keep that perspective, but it's cool to look back on it and be able to see just how I've grown.
Yeah, it's cool to see how God was faithful in the past, and He's faithful now too.
Absolutely.
And moving forward throughout this year, however long you're at Arkansas, if there's one thing people can know you for, what would you want that to be?
Yeah, I think I would love to be known as just a servant, and that people would just see just a boldness for Christ, and that I wouldn't like play or do anything to please people, but just to really fear the Lord and to serve him well. So yeah, my hope is that people would just be like, oh, that's the Jesus girl. That they wouldn't see me, but they would just see the way that I hopefully serve my teammates and love them well. Yeah.
That's awesome, because that's something that's so contagious too. Because
Right.
something that a mentor shared with me is, someone told me one time, like, if you're ever like struggling or having a bad day, go out and serve someone else. And like times I've done that, it's made me feel so much better.
Right.
And it's just something that's so contagious when people serve me, and when I have the opportunity to serve others too.
Yes.
And then a question I love to finish this podcast off with, since it's the Rise Above podcast, is obviously there's someone listening to this today, whether it's a diagnosis or just a small thing that's happened throughout the day, going through something hard. What's the encouraging message you'd have for them?
I would say, first and foremost, obviously, just to be in prayer constantly, but also that you're never alone in what you're going through. I think that is a lie that we tend to believe, is that I'm the first person to ever feel this way or to go through this.
Yeah,
but then
definitely been through that.
Yes, the moment we share it with someone else, I feel like I'm always just so encouraged that someone else has been through the same thing, or they know someone that has, or maybe they don't, but they can still encourage you and speak life into you. So I would say just that there's always someone out there that knows exactly how you're feeling, and so just to lean on other people is huge.
Yeah, that's so important to go to him in prayer and to lean on other people. It reminds me so much of Joshua 1:9, where it says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." And that can apply to literally everyone listening to this, because no matter where we're at, whether it's on a softball field, going to work, in a classroom, go to God in prayer, lean on the Christian community around you. God is literally with you everywhere, and there's no situation too big that he can't handle and he will not be with you through. And I think that's such a great reminder for all of us.
Yes.
And I can't thank you for being on with us today, just sharing about some of the highs and lows in your life and how God's been there for you, and how you know he will continue to be with you. And I can't wait to I would say see, but come to a game. And I know that I keep telling people, I feel like Arkansas softball has just been like on the verge of every year getting to, not Omaha, Oklahoma City. Both have O's, Oklahoma City. But and this might just be the year, and I can't wait to see how you're able to share your faith with so many throughout this journey this year.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm really honored that I was able to tell my story.
Thank you so much to everyone that has listened to this episode of the Rise Above podcast. To help the podcast moving forward, you can subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts at, looking up the Rise Above podcast. And another thing you can do to help us out is, if there's a way this podcast has encouraged you, write a review and let us know how it has helped you. And the last thing you can do is, one of the most important things of rising above is bringing others along as well. As when I started losing my sight, it helped me so much of those that encouraged me with encouraging messages, videos, or clips from podcasts just like our podcast. So if there's something you've enjoyed from this podcast, share it with a friend and encourage them that we can always rise above.